Live in Nashville, Tennessee. You are listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. Nashville's #1 daily podcast. Brought to you by Think Nashville. Think Nashville. Think Brad. Think Brad. It's Nashville Daily Podcast.
Good morning, Nashville. I'm Stuart Deming, and today's episode is brought to you by thinkbrad.com. If you're looking for real estate here in Middle Tennessee, you need to contact Brad Reynolds. You can email him at thinkbrad.com. I think it's just brad@thinkbrad.com, and that's a lot of Brads in an email address. But 615-856-3270. He is the guy to contact if you're looking for real estate here in Middle Tennessee. Today, we're going to have a really fun episode. Also joining me at the table is Mr. Aaron Pennington.
Howdy. It's good morning today.
It's a good morning. The sun was out and it was bright.
Yep.
And it's going to be like a 75 degrees today.
It is. It's going to be nice. I have to say,
February 28th is 75 degrees.
I know. I do have to say, before we get started, if you don't have a good coffee that you consistently rely on, Blessed Day Coffee is one of our other sponsors. I wake up with their light roast. I tried something new. I'll have to pull it up on another episode. A new light roast that they have.
That's the one that starts with the N, right?
It's the one that starts with an N. But it's incredible. I have it ready every morning to put my coffee on a timer every single morning. Wake up with it. It's absolutely incredible. And so you can get that at blesseddaycoffee.com, and you can use the promo code XPLR20 at checkout for 20% off. They're locally roasted here in Nashville. Source some of the best and freshest and most sustainable beans that you can get all over the world. And free delivery if you are in the Nashville area. So wake up with Blessed Day Coffee. It will truly, truly be a great tasting cup of coffee. It's what I have right here. And today is also special because joining us in the studio once more, probably 450 or 500 episodes later, is Jeff Syracuse. Welcome to the program today.
Thanks for having me. Good to be with you guys.
So, Jeff, you are the council member for District 15, which is located in the Donaldson community. So tell us your story on what made you run for Metro Council.
Sure. So I was first elected in 2015, and it really felt like a natural next step. I was a neighborhood guy, and I really helped my neighborhood more behind the scenes than in front of anything with all the infrastructure of organizing the largest neighborhood in Donaldson, 504 homes plus a cottage place condo development.
Is this Pennington Bend?
And no, this is right on the inside of Briley and Lebanon Pike, Donaldson Hills.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And then you've got the nice historic stone house that's right there at the corner, which as a council member, I put a historic overlay on.
Nice.
So I helped with all the infrastructure of putting neighborhood watch together. 17 households serve as watch captains. We then evolved into a neighborhood association. And I kind of got bit by the bug. Well, this is cool. People like this. It doesn't matter what walk of life, political persuasion, or anything like that. It was, I love my neighborhood. I want to protect it. I want to make it great. And we've done that. You drive through our neighborhood and you see new wrought iron street signs, entryway beautification, just a lot of pride in the neighborhood. So it went from there to getting involved in some of our local nonprofits, Donaldson Gateway Project, the Friends at Two Rivers Mansion, which we got exciting things going on there.
It's I just read your newsletter. And,
thank you. Yes,
it's expanding.
We're going to become a regional friends group
which is amazing. So
wow.
Ravenwood Park, you remember that big park that we talked about? So it's also going to be associated with that.
We're going to be the caretaker for historic properties on the eastern side of the county. So I'm really excited about the success that we've had as a friends group, and then where we are headed based on that success. So it went from nonprofits. I got involved in the chamber, and once I got involved in the chamber, and then they made me president of the chamber, I said, I do like this, and I started talking to
we need to become members of the Donaldson Chamber.
Yeah, it's a great organization. My little claim to fame, or whatever you want to call it, about the chamber, and then getting involved in Leadership Donaldson Hermitage, those organizations. That's where I met the CFO of Holiday Properties, who ultimately bought the Donaldson Plaza, which is where the library is. Yep. So once I got involved in the chamber, it felt like a natural next step as far as community engagement. And so 2015, my community elected me council, and it's been an extraordinary run.
That's awesome. So you have to work full-time right now, and then
indeed.
a council member part-time. So tell me what like your day-to-day looks like with that.
My day job is at BMI, so I help lead the radio and TV licensing team.
And BMI is Broadcast Music Incorporated.
Broadcast Music Incorporated.
Hopefully that should be on any test for somebody who goes to Nashville. If you've been here a year and you don't know BMI,
right.
Then you should learn.
Yeah, you should learn.
I still get EMI, BMG, BFI, the trash company, So it's but it is Broadcast Music Incorporated, and so it's definitely sometimes a struggle to juggle. I'm blessed that I've got a job where I can also do this as well, and fit in both and do both well. Hopefully, if especially the latter one, subjective, but it's. I feel alive, most alive sometimes too, when I can wear both hats at the same time, which I know we're gonna get into as far as applying some local policy making effort towards the music industry in the city and why that's important, especially now with rapid growth and development and whatnot. But yes. And any council member will tell you that it's sometimes, unless you're a retiree and you're able to spend full time on the council job, it's a you have to balance it out. Yeah. And it's a much different job in council. It is even just in the past decade or so.
Especially when you had that 14-hour power session or whatever.
I have
meeting at one time.
I have the designation of helping lead the longest council meeting in council history.
Do you guys make a plaque for something like that, or you're trying to forget it?
I think we've earned one, but that was difficult times. We had a long public hearing night, and it was difficult. We got home and the sun was coming up, and but we got through those times.
Yeah. Jeff, one of the things that since we, I think, last had you on the podcast, one of the things that kind of went on behind the scenes during that time, and with you being in the music industry, I know you've been aware of this, and this is the fact that a lot of Nashvillians have home studios that were air quotes illegal,
right.
Because it was next to their neighbors, and there's deals with noise and parking and commercial use and all that stuff. What has been the update? Because that was a main issue for a lot of musicians here in town. What was that initiative called to try and make that a legal thing for Nashville neighborhoods, and what is the update on that?
Sure. Well, credit goes to Councilmember Dave Rosenberg, who sponsored the bill to expand the home occupation permit. So even before we passed the bill that is in there now permanently, we had a home occupation permit, but the crux, if you will, was that you couldn't allow customers to come to your home. If you were a CPA or an attorney or something like that you just worked like part-time or whatnot out of your home, if you had a home occupation permit, you could do that. We are one of the few cities, I believe, across the Southeast that had a very wide gap between residential and then commercial. And that was a big debate about what level of commercial or customers coming to a home inside of a residential neighborhood. It was a good debate, and we listened. And I'm proud of it because we did pass a bill that has been a total success. It was a concern that you get commercial encroachment into neighborhoods or whatnot. With this home occupation permit, it was scaled down to be very laser focused on certain uses or whatnot, and it has been a success. But as far as home studios go, it was difficult because we at council can't necessarily control specific uses, whether it's on a commercial strip or it's this home occupation permit. So whether you're a hairdresser or a dog washer or a dog walker or a home studio. So we had to really look at this cohesively, but we passed the bill. It was sensitive to neighborhoods. It has worked. We haven't had any real codes complaints of issues. So I'm proud of the bill that we passed, and I think we found that good balance, and I think proof is in that it hasn't been an issue.
So speaking of home studios, you're in the music industry every single day. Yeah. And one of the things that's happening here in Nashville is development is coming in so aggressively. And all of these developers from outside of this region are coming in. They're buying these historic music venues in town.
Sure.
So what's happening in that realm, and what protections are in place now to try protecting some of these music venues? I know that's a very hard.
Sure. No, the theme is that Nashville is unfortunately becoming a victim of its own success.
Yes.
The strength of Middle Tennessee, if you will, is that we have multiple strong industries. Healthcare, tech, advanced manufacturing, corporate relocation, and music, of course, is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that rapid growth and development of those other industries in this city is starting to steamroll over the very special culture that brings people here in the first place. And so we have a crack in our foundation as Music City. And I'm trying to be focused like a laser on identifying those issues, which are affordable housing for creatives, that piece of our DNA that says that you can come to Nashville as a musician, as a songwriter, and be successful. We're struggling to keep up with that dream.
Mm-hmm. And there's only maybe 15 or 20 housing communities in town that can actually accommodate like an artist residency type situation where they accommodate some of the rent.
Sure. Ryman Lofts was a huge success.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's where the Four Seasons is now, right?
Yeah.
No, up the road.
Ryman Lofts is still there. It's part of the
you know where the Entrepreneur Center is?
Oh, yeah.
It's apartments on back there.
Trolley barns and the old hospital that was converted to housing and added housing. That was a big success. And why did we stop? We should have kept going. It's such a need.
Was that subsidized by the city?
Yeah, it's a partnership with MDHA. Okay. Yeah, and so that's how we keep the rents low. There's a vetting process to ensure that you are an artist and whatnot. And so they're given kind of first priority. So we need more of that. With our local independent music venues, it's a small business sector that struggles. The true equity conversation for creatives is not really a creative discussion at all. It's a real estate discussion. Whether it's housing for you or the local independent music venues that are struggling. Having a healthy total music ecosystem means that we need to have local independent music venues.
Oh, handsome.
There's room for everybody. There's room for Live Nation. There's room for AEG. But to have those true creative incubators of the local independent music venues, it's critical that we support those. And so the effort that I undertook at council was to get a little bit of federal funding plus CVC and chamber threw in some dollars. We went and put out an RFP, did what government does best sometimes, which is hire a consultant. But you just don't want your politicians to be the one to lead efforts when you have subject matter experts out there that have done this kind of work before.
Yeah.
So Penn Praxis, PENN, the research arm out of the University of Pennsylvania in Philly.
Okay.
They won the bid.
Oh, wow.
And their boots have been on the ground since last week and to start this work. And ultimately,
so this is fresh.
This is fresh. And
wow.
what we hope that the result of this is to find those tools, policies, and programs that we can do to support local independent music venues, whether that's something from a particular zoning classification, whether that's a new historic preservation tool, whether that is rent support or anything like that we can drive that equity.
Has the thought been pitched to like some developers, like, hey, if you put a music venue into this, we'll give you some tax subsidies
that was the interesting thing that I was thinking in the back of my mind is, and this is probably what this independent consulting group is doing, is how do we define an independent music venue,
right?
Yeah. And what gives it the qualifications that we need to protect it for culture versus it's a music venue that's just managed poorly kind of deal. So how do you see those things?
During the pandemic, when we appropriated some federal dollars to be able to support the venues to help them, because obviously they were shuttered and closed down, that definition was a discussion. So thankfully, the industry rose up and helped define themselves.
Okay.
So you have the Music Venue Alliance of Nashville, which is a consortium, if you will, of our local independent music venues, and they've defined why they are independence and why that the corporatized ones are the ones that had the resources to be able to weather the storm, if you will, through the pandemic. I mean, they had a 1-2 punch. It's not just the rapid growth and development, but then it was because they were shuttered also.
And then some of them were affected by the tornado too.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. Basement East,
which we're coming up to the 3-year anniversary later this week. Which is crazy.
It is crazy to think about, right? Yeah. So the what I hope that, and I don't want to lead too much because I want the consultant to do their work, but the end result, I believe, may look something like what I would call a cultural land trust. When you look at what Austin, Seattle, even London have done, because we're not the only city going through these challenges of rapid growth and development, having culture in these older buildings that are not necessarily architecturally worth saving, but the value, the critical cultural value that they've had to the city is priceless. And we have to figure out a way where we can make that property owner whole, understand that they have generational wealth that they want to sell. It's the same thing that happened to Studio A on Music Row.
Yeah.
But we've got to figure out where we can partner with them, a private-public partnership, to help make them whole, but realize that what they've had in that building is a critical cultural asset. So how can we help you get the value out of your building and also preserve it? It's complicated, but there's entities that have done that. Seattle's has got a kind of a cool hip name. It's called the Seattle Cultural Space Agency. And,
That's pretty cool.
And then Austin has one called the Austin Economic Development Corporation, which sounds very corporate, right? But for an example is, have you ever heard of the Broken Spoke? It's a club in Austin that's been there since the 60s.
Yeah, I believe I have.
An extraordinary incubator of talent in that for that city, and it's been there for decades. That is one of the first ones that they're looking at, hopefully acquiring to preserve. So, and then London's got specific to just music venues. It's called the Music Venue Trust. So this would be kind of a private-public partnership between public and private, dollars raised to hopefully help save some of our critical cultural assets. And it could be something used beyond music venues as well. So,
yeah, and would you allow like outside investors to come in with the public side of things?
Sure. I mean, if you have your trust set up correctly and the governance behind that, so that you know that once this property has been acquired, and you know what it could be used for, and that it is preserved, I think that the private side could definitely come from outside of Nashville.
Yeah, because Amazon came in with the MDHA
right
when they first kind of made their announcements, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. Jeff, if I do the math right, 2015.
Yeah.
It is now 2023.
It's extraordinary.
You've been in council for 8 years.
2 terms.
Which is wild. Yeah, so 2 terms, which is the max that you can be at your council for your Donaldson district.
Right.
And so you are, there's the Hunger Games. District just comes out of nowhere. What is next for you? You handed us a guitar pick.
Yeah.
This thing is amazing.
Let's see this.
So, this is like it's not your business card, but like this is like your campaign thing. So it's a little guitar pick, and then you literally said "Pick Jeff."
Pick Jeff.
I was like,
which
this
is
is amazing branding.
It's
so look at this little thing.
Functional campaign swag. It's a good conversation starter, and it's actually functional pick for those that like that.
I don't know.
We'll give this to Brett.
Yeah, we'll give this to Brett, our sales guy. But like, it seems like it's just a fantastic, memorable thing.
It's been great as I've been gallivanting across the county and handing these out. They're good. People love them. It's something different. It's not just a standard palm card.
And then they talk about it.
And then we have a conversation about this position that I'm running for now.
Talk about that, because you can't run for Donaldson anymore.
Right.
So what is left on the ballot?
So we currently, we can get into the whole state legislation in a bit, but we currently have a 40-member council, 35 districts, and 5 at-large seats in the
which makes us the 3rd largest in the nation.
Exactly.
Correct? It's like Chicago, New York, and then us.
Right. It's pretty extraordinary.
Which is kind of crazy for how small we are.
It is, but of course we're growing rapidly, right? So, so the 5 at-large positions have the opportunity, because they don't have to deal with the day-to-day district stuff, zoning and codes and all that. They can look at stuff from more of a broader governance, fiduciary, strategic planning in a way. And so there's broader policy work that I'm just as passionate about as I have been in Donaldson, specific to especially the music industry. And so I have a lot of thoughts about things I would like to do where it's interesting to think after 2 terms that I'm one of the guys now that has some institutional knowledge about a $2.5 billion budget, about where we were.
You got to see a lot of things that cities did not go through.
Oh, it's been extraordinary to be starting out in 2015 when everything seemed like it was almost like a utopia where everything was going right. And then due to a combination of things, we just didn't keep our eye on the ball fiscally. That's the reality. We have fixed it since, but and then the impact of a pandemic, the tornado, a bombing. And so I think I bring a lot to the table of the experience of managing rapid growth and development, trying to capitalize on your successes, and then, of course, then coming back from extraordinary challenges.
Yeah.
So with the council member at large, can you run for 2 terms on this?
Yes.
So altogether, you could be 16 years.
Another 8 years. Yeah,
And
it's
okay.
possible. As long as the state doesn't.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Let's talk about that because
Sure.
In the past 5 months or so, the relationship between the Tennessee state government and the Metro Council Nashville has been wild, to say the least.
Indeed.
Can you talk about that from the council side of things?
Sure.
The unfolding of the kind of timeline that you guys saw from your perspective.
No, absolutely. Let's start with the positive. One of the Nashville's greatest strengths is that we are a nonpartisan government, and and personally, I do like the 40-member council.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. The mayoral race is a
Yeah.
nonpartisan race. Council member races are nonpartisan. So yeah, for a big city, that's great.
Sure. We can have the debate internally within Davidson County. We've done it before. We've voted on it about, do we want to keep a 40-member council? What is the right number? If it's not 40, is it 27? Is it 25? Is it 20?
Is it 50?
Is it? Yeah, right. I don't know if we want to go up.
Every other person is a council member.
But to shrink us when we are at a place where we're growing rapidly. So what the state is doing is got a number of bills that are targeted at Nashville. And the reality is that I think it does stem from the fact that we voted down on the Republican National Convention.
100%. If anybody doesn't see that, then they're not looking at the right picture.
And, even when that particular bill came to council, it really was an opportunity for state legislators and Metro to sit down and figure out a path. Where can we get along? When we start arguing back and forth in the media, and especially on Twitter and all that, it's not helpful to anybody.
Yeah, it's not helpful.
And here we are now with a number of bills that are pretty egregious.
So there's 3 bills. There's the reduction of Metro Council.
There's a number of them.
There's taking over the Airport Authority and Sports Authority.
Right.
And then
Music City Center.
The Music City Center.
Yeah.
Yes.
Reducing the tax taking away the tax incentives for the Music City Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So the only one that has got real traction at this point is the reduction of council. And so, what is the intent here? I don't think that's been clearly defined. We're just kind of it's changing rapidly day by day. There is a House committee vote today that everybody's kind of waiting to see what's going to happen.
And then if that House committee, just kind of policy procedure, if that House committee goes forward with it, then
Goes
it
into
gets
the General Assembly.
Yep.
I think at that point,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's got.
There's House, and then I can't remember if it's
That's got to go to the Senate.
judicial,
Then.
and then Senate, and then
Right.
General, and then Governor's desk.
So the extraordinary thing is that, will it happen this year? We don't know. I will say I'm in a unique position to help ensure that if this does happen, that we're going to have a smooth transition.
Yeah.
Because when in 2019, when I was reelected, I asked Vice Mayor Schulman, I was elected by my colleagues to be the president pro tem of council. So so that position is when the vice mayor needs to take a break or whatnot, or it's a long meeting like we just talked about, that I could get up and help run council.
Yep.
And so I was elected as president pro tem, and I asked him, I said, beyond just helping you out to run the meeting when you need a break, what can I do to help you? As the president of Metro Council, sometimes we look at the vice mayor role as just being the vice mayor, but really the more important title on a day-to-day basis is the president of Metro Council.
That makes sense.
And so
Now, quick question.
Yeah.
The mayor is voted in, and then the vice mayor is voted in as well. The mayor does not choose the vice mayor.
correct, yeah, vice mayor.
I just want to make sure I have that correct.
Sure, yeah. It's a part-time position, just like a council member. So I began a strategic planning process for council. I was listening to that podcast that Bill Haslam and Phil Bredesen have, and it's really great.
Yeah.
And the one thing that stuck with me that I think Haslam said was that politics is the worst when it comes to the ability to do strategic planning, because you're only in there for 4 years, and then the next person comes in and whatnot.
You can't plan 15, 20, 30 years.
Right. So how can you overcome that to be able to put in something that is consistent? So I started looking at us from the perspective of being a department. I think a lot of times we get in there as council members and we think about ourselves and trying to get as much money as we can for district projects or whatnot, and then we go home. I want to try to leave this place a little bit better than the way I found it.
Yeah.
And so we started looking at things like staffing levels, staffing support. I'll tell you from an HR perspective, our Metro Council office is kind of a breeding ground for other departments. We hire, we train, they poach. And so we've got to do a better job of being retaining, of saying that, council office is a great career opportunity. So we need to work on that. We need to work on a bona fide onboarding program for council members. So this gets to where it's like, whether it's 40 or 20.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about these kinds of things already. So we're working with Metro HR on a bona fide onboarding program for council. You get elected, congratulations, go make a $2.5 billion decision without having any,
kind of scary.
It is kind of scary. Planning and zoning, these are the critical aspects and functions of a council member.
Yep.
And we should have the opportunity. Education.
Yes.
Then the last thing is the physical layout of the second floor. If you've ever been up there and tried to get into a committee room while council is operating, it is extraordinarily difficult, even for an elected official, to get into some of these committee rooms because they're so packed.
I haven't done that yet. So I think we need to make a video.
Come on down. Come on down. I'll give you a tour while we're having our committee meetings.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So you have the clerk, Metro Nashville Network, and council on the second floor. And so the short story basically then is that I've got a plan for, and I just secured some funding to begin the process of looking at the second floor to restructure us.
that's awesome.
Whether we have 40 or 20.
You guys are you're not in the courthouse, right?
Yes, we are. Second floor. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the things I've been thinking about anyway. So if we're going to be shrunk down to 20, then that kind of project becomes a priority to ensure that we have a good, solid transition, that we are supporting ourselves from the perspective of being a department.
Right. Do you think, because I know Metro Council just, and I don't know who sends out these press releases and all that stuff, but you just see the announcement, Metro Council does this and that. But you guys did talk about the 2028 RNC.
Right.
Is there a hope that, okay, hey, let's all, okay, we get it.
Right.
We all got mad at each other.
Right.
We're going to be good now.
Right.
And we're all going to make sure that we move forward without both sides getting hit.
It sounds like the direction perhaps we could be going in is where I wish, obviously Monday morning quarterback, but I wish that we could have done in the first place, which was have a conversation about setting the stage for how we could have national conventions. Let's not even talk about party. Let's just talk about national conventions. So I believe you might see a resolution here, whether it's this coming Tuesday's meeting or the one after that, to possibly put an olive branch out there, basically for council to eat crow a little bit and say, you know what, we're willing to have that conversation about having national conventions. You saw in the news that where the mayor and the CBC sent a letter as well to both national parties saying we would consider your application for 2028.
They happen at the exact same time, because that would be bizarre.
Yeah, right. Hopefully not.
So there's a lot of politics in this. There's a lot of saber rattling.
There's the aspect of security as well. You have to keep in.
And that was a major concern, right? And it's a sad state of affairs when that is a major concern. But obviously, then the positive is the economic impact to having a large national convention.
And you get to keep every council member.
Right. So will that work? Will that be something that the state accepts and we can sit down and work this out and whatnot? It's yet to be seen. But as each day goes by, you get closer and closer to when petitions go out. Right. Candidates have to get petitions signed. They get on the ballot. I think May 1 is the big line in the sand, if you will, because around May 1 is when the petitions have to be turned in, and then we figure out who's on the ballot. And so if that happens...
they have to do all that work for election in August.
Yeah, May, June, July, and then the election is August 3rd.
Yeah, so that's only a 3-month turnaround.
And then all of from a budget perspective, we are having to look at the budget now to say, my gosh, if they do shrink us, then we're going to have to put money into the budget to ramp up staff.
Yep.
Because you're going to representing 20,000 to 40,000 people, we're going to need some support. So you have that, and then the second floor, physical nature of the second floor to accommodate all that. So there's a lot to think about, all the logistics of doing that. it would be a heavy lift. It would be chaos from the perspective of you have all these good people wanting to run for office. And if they do shrink us and you then have these mega districts, let's call them, you'll have 4 or 5 people that were running in their other districts to now being running against each other. And that's there it is. All right. Well done.
So March 7th it's a big day for council, and the reason for that is John Cooper and his office has brought to Metro Council the proposal of the new Titan Stadium.
Indeed, it's here.
And on March 7th is the first reading. If people didn't know, you have to have 3 readings in Metro Council before it becomes. Is it law? Is that what the terminology is?
Ordinances are 3 readings. The first one is it basically. All first reading is that it gets it into the system. So we don't even debate anything. So we won't be taking it up to debate anything. It gets into the system. Then March 21st will be the first time that we really have the strong debates, because then it goes through the committee structure. And then to April, council, and then April would ostensibly.
So potentially the first week of April, we can have a decision on the new Titan Stadium.
It's possible. Maybe. You always have to
sound too sure that it might be.
It's been almost a year since it was initially proposed.
Things of this large nature, you have to build in maybe 1 or 2 potential deferrals.
Of course.
Of course. So I foresee that happening.
So maybe by June.
Yeah, hopefully before that, right? Hopefully it doesn't go that far.
What are your thoughts on the new stadium?
Well, it's an extraordinary project. It's huge. And obviously it's not just the stadium. The stadium is the centerpiece, if you will, to the whole East Bank plan. So even though what's coming before us is the financial package for the stadium, we have to think holistically about the whole East Bank. I think what folks want to hear about, and I think what they want to be assured of. For example, I went to Stand Up Nashville's event they had this past weekend, for us to be able to hear from a lot of people about their concerns that this whole East Bank, and especially based on the financing of the stadium, that it's going to exacerbate our current issues. Rapid growth and development, lack of affordable housing, lack of culture, are we just fueling tourism and not helping support neighborhoods? So I think that what people want to see is that will the East Bank and will the stadium be a new neighborhood that will actually generate revenue that supports neighborhoods all across Davidson County? Will it be something that can incorporate culture, such as it's possible that the new TPAC could be on the East Bank.
The state in the new budget for 2023 to 2024 put $200 million to the relocation of TPAC.
Right. So could that be a perfect spot for it? It's possible. Nashville School of the Arts, I think, after the James Lawson new high school on the west side of the county.
If those could be side by side, that'd be pretty cool.
We could have an extraordinary cultural campus there. And then, of course, all the land around the stadium is Metro owned. So we have the ability to put out our own RFPs, requests for proposals, that mandates a certain level of affordable housing or whatnot.
Of course.
So I look at the package for the stadium, which is and would be the biggest subsidy of any sports stadium in history. But
in the country or just locally?
In the country.
Wow, okay.
It's pretty extraordinary.
Yep.
Here locally, we would have to pull about a $750 million revenue bond. Now, obviously, we could spend 2 hours getting into all the nuances here, but I'll just try to hit the high points. That a revenue bond is different than like what we just did last week. Last week for the capital spending plan, and those are called general obligation bonds, GO bonds. That's basically the Metro credit card, and then through your operating budget, you have to pay back that debt over time. General obligation bonds are lower interest and all that. A revenue bond, it does not impact your credit rating. A revenue bond is based on the...
And Nashville has a good one.
We do, and we have the second to highest now. So
it's amazing.
Proof in the pudding that we...
Double A or triple rated triple A?
Double A plus, I think,
so
the different agencies...
Striving for triple A?
Exactly. That could very well be where we're headed. So just like we did with the soccer stadium, the Titan Stadium would be based on a revenue bond. So it doesn't impact your credit rating. What I'm going to look at very closely is that from a pro forma perspective of do we have ample revenues to be able to pay back that revenue bond and then have more to be able to put into all of the major issues we're trying to address.
Right.
So I think that the very good concern that people have across this county is that will this stadium basically be one big revenue suck that just it's going to take all this revenue to pay it back, and it's not going to do anything for us out in the county. I think that's a very legitimate concern. And so we've got to be able to show that not only could the East Bank be a new neighborhood that generates revenue that helps all of neighborhoods across the county,
Right.
but that this stadium is going to be something that is really the next big chapter for having professional sports and professional entertainment shows or whatnot. Is this a building that is going to be something more than just for the Titans or whatnot? And it's got the potential to do that. Obviously, we've talked about having the Super Bowl. We've talked about having all the different sports events and the huge
all the
music
new,
shows,
the new concerts
right?
that can come in, all the different businesses that can tag along on the side of the stadium, opening it more than just game days like it is now, and
Sure.
having all those businesses and classrooms and things on the inside that could still operate
Right.
on non-game days.
And then the infrastructure piece. Fifth Street has the potential of becoming a true transit corridor, if you will. That
We've covered this
right?
extensively here
Yeah,
on the podcast.
and the current new District 15 boundaries, the Fifth Street Bridge could be coming across the river into what will be the 15th district, and so that's a infrastructure piece that can help alleviate traffic
So
and
off
congestion.
of, Cohen over there,
Right.
back where the bus warehouse and stuff is.
Right.
That's the bridge you're talking
where the
about. correct?
where the WeGo massive facility
yeah,
is.
the bridge that we
Yeah.
talked about.
Okay.
Central
Yeah.
Railway Museum.
Yep.
So,
Which is amazing,
When
by
you
the way.
think about the opportunity to reimagine the East Bank with obviously the stadium as its centerpiece, at the end of the day, like I said, I think the whole county wants to know that this isn't going to be just one big tourism investment that does not benefit all of us in Nashville. That are we going to have the opportunity to build affordable housing, to invest in and place culture as part of this? Will it benefit the people who live here, or will it just be a big tourism vehicle?
Yeah.
I think that is the legitimate concern, and we have to be able to show that via our analysis of the hundreds of pages that we are now having to go
Yes,
through.
I wish you the
about
best of
this
luck
deal.
over that over the next
yeah.
few weeks.
We read some of these pages here on the podcast, and we get to page like 96, and we're like,
okay.
"Oh, this is this is a lot."
It's a big deal.
Has there been any estimates on the density of population for the East Bank?
Numbers. That's a very good question. It could almost be like a new downtown.
Yeah,
I was thinking
that's
potentially
what we're
25 to
imagining. Yeah,
40,000 people could live in the East Bank.
It's possible. So there again, are we just going to have auto-oriented apartments and condos and things like that, or are we truly investing in creating transit as part of that?
I hope so.
So that's certainly the vision that's been put in place.
Speaking of transit, let's talk for a minute, and then I want to get more to sports because selfishly,
Sure.
I want to hear your opinion on the baseball stuff. But on the transportation stuff, one of the things that has been a major work of you a legacy to try to leave behind in the Donaldson area is a regional kind of transportation area for Donaldson. Where the Star is. Can you talk about what's been done over the course of your term there, and then what's coming up for that area?
Sure. This is one of the things I'm really proud of because and as I gallivant across the county now and speak with people and I tell them about what we've been doing in Donaldson, they're like, yes, that's the way we need to continue to grow. So in 2006 is when the least expensive commuter rail startup in U.S. history began, which was the Music City Star, which is now called the WeGo Star. We got hand-me-down trains from Chicago. We basically had parking lots, so it was a park and ride. It was an experiment in commuter rail. Nobody would have thought then that we would be growing like we are now, and then looking at the Star going,
We should have done this for every county.
Exactly.
Yep.
So then in 2008, we put the downtown Donaldson urban design overlay in place, and so it envisioned a walkable, transit-oriented town center. If we're going to continue to grow and address our traffic issues and address our affordable housing issues, that intersection between transit and affordable housing at regional transit hubs is the way to grow. And that's based on best practices across the world about how you grow sustainably. And so Donaldson is really one of the very first ones because it already has that regional transit hub. And so the work I've been doing, The new library across the street at Donaldson Plaza
looks amazing.
It's going to be great. 3-story parking underneath, 2-story, almost 25,000 square foot library. It's not just a new library; it's going to be the civic anchor for that walkable town center. And right across the street,
there's West Coast Taco.
is West Coast Taco, right? For sure. Across the street will be, how H.G. Hill has basically taken all of their places and reimagined them into walkable villages. It's Hill Center, fill in the blank. And so this will be Hill Center, Donaldson Station. And so the really cool aspect of this is that it'll be a regional transit center. So coming from the airport, Donaldson is the hospitality gateway for Nashville. Right. Coming from the airport, you can come to the Donaldson Station. From there, you can go downtown or you can get out to the Opry area. So it's going to be a real regional transit hub. And the work that we've been doing with the Hill Center Donaldson Station project is basically to convert that park and ride to a get out your door and ride.
Yeah.
Hopefully alleviating the need for a car. Obviously, the train's got to run more often for that to happen, but it's a chicken and the egg scenario. Do you invest millions into the infrastructure of the rail line to make it run more often, or do you put that private development around it that then substantiates those public dollars? Right. And so it's a balance of both, and we are working on both. The first piece of the train station will be to convert it from a park and ride to a true regional transit hub, so that as buses eventually come from the airport, then they'll be able to accommodate those as well as the train.
Wow.
And then everything around it will be housing and retail, commercial. And then the real special piece is that we have our beloved 54 Donaldson Station. And so as part of that, you have the Larry Keaton Theater. And so there is the opportunity to have a brand new 50 Forward Center and a new theater, which could also have senior housing up on top.
That would be amazing. How big is the theater going to be estimated to be?
Well, don't know yet. So they're just now getting into those kinds of discussions to figure out, all the finances of that and all that. But I think potentially it could actually help the theater group because it could be more of a multi-purpose space. Right now, the theater extraordinarily is in the, as they call them, the cafegimatoriums, right? the old, that was the original Donaldson Elementary School.
Wow.
The building was built in the 20s, and and unfortunately, 50 Forward has to pay about $4,000 a month on electric bill. I mean, it's for a nonprofit, it's difficult for them to be able to maintain that building for sure. So this is the potential win-win for them as well. So what I love about this is, we talk about new growth and all the young folks moving in and all that. Well, here's new good growth that is supportive of our seniors.
Yeah. And
so,
we need that.
Absolutely. We need that.
So, Aaron, you mentioned baseball. So what are your thoughts on the Nashville Stars potentially coming to town?
It's extraordinary. We would be probably the only city in this nation, I think, to have all of these major league teams, right? If we were
the only thing we're missing is basketball.
which
that's going to stay in Memphis.
No, for sure. Yeah. Now, women's professional basketball, we could possibly get.
Yeah.
So baseball. I don't know that I know that much about it. I know that there is a potential of having a stadium near the TSU. That's been the discussion.
Right.
I know some folks would like to see a stadium, obviously, at the PCS metal plant.
Yes.
Please. I know. Exactly.
I think that was the kind of introductory, here's where we could put a stadium.
Sure.
I don't have a lot of hope in that plan
I don't either.
anymore.
Yeah.
When they started talking elsewhere, I'm like, okay, they abandoned that.
That would be an extraordinarily complex scenario there of trying to take their business and put it somewhere else. They need to be in certain locations to be on the barges on the river and whatnot. So
I was hoping that they would take the new Titan Stadium, make it kind of like a coliseum, a big round coliseum, and then make it into a baseball and NFL combo
like dual-use
stadium.
Yeah.
Like some cities, like Philly, has their basketball, football, and baseball kind of all in the same place, right? Well, someday I'm sure that PSC medals will go somewhere, but it's going to be an extraordinarily expensive endeavor that this city's not going to be able to do on their own.
Yeah.
Imagine all the EPA cleanup of that site, and so where would a stadium go? I don't know. Obviously, I think at this point this county has stadium fatigue.
Yes.
I
agree.
Yeah. Jeff, how many stadiums, if MLB went through, how many stadiums would you have personally overseen go through Metro Council?
It'd be the third.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Right before me was the Sound Stadium. And I think that's where people, they started to get a bad taste in their mouth, if you will, because that stadium project was pushed a little too fast and they had cost overruns. Mm-hmm. And so there was a lot that we learned from that when we did the soccer stadium. The revenue bond, not the geo bond, making sure that the team has to pick up any overruns, things like that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we got to protect the taxpayers of the county and make sure that that it's not coming out of our operating budget, so that we can focus like a laser on schools and sidewalks and transit,
right,
and all the pieces that we need to do. That these stadiums, again, just cannot be a burden on us to be able to effectuate the critical areas that we need that support everybody across the county.
Right. So you had the Sound Stadium, then you came in for Geodis, which was just the soccer stadium at that time. Soon the Titan Stadium, and then
let's not forget about racing.
And then the Raceway.
Redoing the NASCAR track.
That's going to be coming to us, and you know, unfortunately, these things have political timelines also, right? These are all things we got to get them done before the end of the term, right?
Yep.
So we'll see. I haven't seen numbers on the racing yet, but I know that the Sports Authority is going to be meeting on that soon, and then
they've got their hands full, don't they?
They have their hands full. Yeah. But you know, when we were going through the whole stadium discussions, it was always a promise that racing and soccer could live together.
Yeah.
That said, I'm sensitive to what the neighbors around there feel about the sound and whatnot. So we have to protect quality life. So these are all the things that we'll have to try to balance.
Jeff, where could people learn more about your campaign and everything that's happening?
JeffSyracuse.com.
Yeah,
Big Jeff.
That's a Big Jeff.
Yeah, right. All my socials are updated.
Jeff, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I think we're gonna have to get you back on because there's so much happening in the Donaldson District 15
Absolutely.
area.
Yeah.
Visit NashvilleDailyPodcast.com to learn more about Nashville. Also subscribe to our YouTube channels, Nashville Daily Podcast, Explore.Nash, and Explore Tennessee. Tomorrow we have a really good episode as well. We'll see you then. Thank you for listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. If you want to learn more, head to NashvilleDailyPodcast.com.
You can also follow us on social media at Explore.Nash on Instagram, Nashville Daily Podcast on YouTube, and Explore.Nash on YouTube as well.
The Nashville Daily Podcast is an Explore LLC production, copyright 2023.